Midnight hums like a machine trying not to wake the building. Perihelion is off camera, too close to the sun for anyone to watch, but the announcements hit like noon. Scientists say 3I/Atlas will arrive at Earth in 10 days. If the numbers bend tonight, gravity won't be the only hand on the wheel. Cities will set their clocks to a sky they can't negotiate with. I press rec, and the room takes one slow, cold breath. Key lights sleep behind frosted glass. Racks blink in careful rhythm, fans shave the air thin. On my desk, a lower third waits, interstellar object, Earth window, T-10 days. My finger hovers over a word I'm not allowed to use. Alien. Delete. Type, anomalous. The cursor blinks like it's counting my courage. We're not watching 3I/Atlas directly. Solar conjunction turned the sky into a bright firewall. So we listen sideways, radio reflections, thermal whispers, dots on plots, the way a prediction cone narrows, then lies. A producer in my ear counts down to nothing, standby bedroll. No anchors. Quiet open. Let the room breathe. I do. We align to the MPC feed, timestamps rolling grayscale like a rain you can't feel. A tiny, indifferent universe streams in columns and dull fonts. Someone coughs on the speaker and kills the audio immediately, embarrassed to be mammal at a time like this. 10 days. If the geometry holds, we get a pass. If it fails, we get a lesson written in glass and water. I keep the disclaimer at the bottom of the prompter like the safety on a gun, no extraordinary language without 3 independent confirmations. The monitors cast winter on my hands. I log the top of show, timecode stamped, initials tucked into the file name. The rec light steadies. In 10 days the sky may cross the street without looking. Tonight, numbers decide if we're the ones who should. The hum keeps its promise. The control room is part newsroom, part observatory, all night. I slide into the chair that smells faintly of coffee and unspilled panic, and pull up the dashboards, ephemerides, residual plots, a delta V readout the color of bad weather. Sinking UTC, I call out. Star catalog aligned, the astronomer on speaker replies. Errors shrinking, now jittering. On another screen, the PDCO bulletin sits pinned, operational posture, elevated, messaging posture, measured. Residuals in 2 hours, she adds. She's 3 states away, voice flattened by codec. We trade nouns like tools, no adjectives. I can see her hands without seeing her, left on the keyboard, right measuring the distance between doubt and duty. Legal pings the team channel, reminder, no on-air speculation on propulsion, composition, or intent. For public copy, 3I/Atlas inbound window projected in -10 days, uncertainties remain, monitoring continues. I drag their line into my rundown and let it sit there like a supervisor behind my shoulder. We're running a thin schedule. Solar conjunction meant, we couldn't watch, we could only wait for the numbers to come back. The post-conjunction reacquisition window opens before dawn if the models are polite. If not, we'll be chalking around missing outlines until morning. In the corner, a spare lens cap wears a coffee ring like a halo. A colleague leaves a NDA printout on my desk with a sticky note, sign if you want the early geometry packs. I sign because I already did. I got on a plane 2 hours after the press line said 10 days, and half our audience fell asleep with their phones in their hands. This is a bedtime story with real weather. My badge blinks me deeper into the stack, sensor logs, calibration files, a folder named drafts_donotus that someone uses every day. I open a new text, interstellar object near Earth window. Delete near. Replace with enters Earth window in 10 days. The mouse stutters under my palm. The air conditioner shivers once and pretends it didn't. Somewhere outside the building, sirens pass the way stars used to in old movies, slow, beautiful, wrong. I pull the camera in for a close, hands, displays, breath. The rec light burns patient as a lighthouse. We are not making a sensation. We are making a record. At 1:07 I'm alone in the corridor that leads to the roof. The vending machine hums in D minor. I tap a paper cup and watch the coffee land too dark, then settle into something survivable. On my phone, a photo lives in the lock screen, my mother on the porch, morning light on her shoulder, a winter from 3 years ago. She used to say, when the weather wouldn't make up its mind, the sky knows something it can't explain yet. The cursor in my lower third blinks like it's impatient with my biography. I replace incoming visitor with non-periodic interstellar object, and underneath that, Earth approach window, T-N days, subject to revision. My thumb hovers over a word, impact. I type, encounter. My career can survive 100 careful synonyms and only one careless noun. On the console, a sticky note from a year ago, Oumuamua talking points, remove, pancake, use, high aspect ratio. I remember being in makeup while the internet shouted about light sales and cigar rocks, about agency and arrogance. I remember deciding which part of the truth the audience could pick up without breaking. Tonight feels like an exam written by the same hand but in smaller print. I breathe with the room, 4 beats in, hold for 2, exhale on facts. The mic sits beside my wrist, mute light off, I drop quiet. Across the glass, the producer stacks headlines we may never roll. If we nail the window, he mouths, we run a map of past corridors, no color scale. No counties. Just light. I nod. He knows I like the camera close when the math gets personal. I draft a line and delete it. I draft another and let it live, we wait for numbers to find their voice. That'll pass legal and still sound like a heartbeat. The room doesn't warm up, but it stops apologizing for the cold. In 10 days, if arrival means near, we will all sigh and call it mercy. If arrival means through, we will speak in the tense that makes hands shake. I take a slow sip. My mouth remembers how to be honest without being loud. At 1:24 the normal plot looks normal, scatter like static, a cone like common sense. Then a dot lands just outside the cone and dares us to scold it. I lean closer. The UI pretends nothing happened. 1 points nothing, the astronomer says, which is exactly the sentence you say before the second one falls in the same quiet direction. Dot 2 arrives like a decision. My throat forgets its job. What's the outgassing floor? I ask, moving the mic down, not up. The room knows new weather. Lower than that, she says. Her keys keep talking. Solar radiation pressure would have to be the wrong sign. I let those words be air for a second. Magnitude? Submillimeter per second, she answers. Sustained across the post-conjunction slice. The producer slides into the glass like a fish that can read. His eyebrows are a headline. Legal drops a new note in the channel, reminder, do not attribute cause. Language permitted, non-gravitational candidate acceleration. I type it like I've always believed in it, non-gravitational candidate acceleration. It looks like the sentence a court would raise a child on. A third dot lands. Not a line, not yet. Something straighter than noise. The residual plot stops looking like shrugged shoulders and starts looking like a map. I feel the camera want my face, I give it my hands instead. Knuckles in the light. The rec marker tiny as a star. That's drift, she says. I almost say, that's intent. I swallow and replace it with a word that can live with strangers, trend. Copy, she replies, and I hear a small laugh take a wrong turn and go somewhere it can't do damage. I push the update to the rundown, slight, sustained deviation from gravity-only model detected, confirmation pending. The verb detected feels like a fingerprint. I leave it. The room learns a new temperature. So do I. It starts little, the CMS tag under our segment turns from ready to hold like a cloud closing its hand. My ID badge throws a red blink at the stairwell that was green an hour ago. Overnight updates, the access bot lies. Legal doesn't call. Legal never calls. They put a sentence on a page and let physics explain itself. We pull music from the open, let the hum be the soundtrack. I read copy we're not allowed to feel. Scientists have announced a projected Earth window arrival for 3I/Atlas in approximately 10 days, uncertainties remain, monitoring continues. On the screen, we carry the text like a candle through a crowded room. I don't trip. In the hallway, the night editor walks by without stopping. He's carrying a printout like a truce flag. He keeps walking. On Slack, a quiet CC to me and two producers. Given the proximity to public concern, all mentions of arrival should be paired with window and projection. Avoid impact unless quoting an agency explicitly. If conflicting terms are introduced by guests, steer to trajectory and encounter. I copy-paste the sentence into my spine. The astronomer mutes for 14 seconds. When she comes back, her voice is a little thin around the edges. Another group is seeing similar residuals, she says. Different instrument. Same direction. I can't give you the name yet. How soon for independent confirmation? I ask. Hours if discipline wins. Minutes if someone wants to be first. Her laugh makes it to me this time, but it doesn't have a place to sit. I step into the corridor and look at the roof door I can't open. Through the slit window you can see half a city deciding whether to sleep or watch itself sleep. I rest my forehead against the cool frame and count backwards from 10 days to now. Back at the desk, I change one line in the lower third, Earth window in 10 days stays. Under it, I add, non-gravitational candidate detected, independent confirmation requested. The words are smaller than the news. They're allowed to be. I file the text. The CMS holds it like a coin in a fist. By 2:12 we've shaved the show down to bones. No panel, no pundits. Just room tone and a map of the sky that keeps its own counsel. The post-conjunction reacquisition window is etched into our rundown in quiet numerals, 4:12 to 4:37 Universal Time Coordinated. Miss it and we wait a day. I read that line to myself, not to the camera. Waiting is a form of speaking, I learned that from theater and telescopes. We build a plan we're allowed to have. Plan A, acquire, fit, push residuals, publish a call for independent confirmation to a professional list with no adjectives in it. Plan B, if the slot slides away, hand the audience the silence we earned and let them keep some of it. I sign my name at the bottom of both. There's a knock I feel through the desk before I hear it. The night editor leans in half his face. We may kill the segment, he says, voice carefully blank. Hold will likely stay until daylight. We'll run a generic explainer. What's the copy? I ask, because asking for the copy is my religion. He reads from his phone. Scientists refine models of interstellar object 3I/Atlas. No immediate hazard determined, monitoring continues toward a 10-day Earth window. That's not wrong, I say. It isn't right either, but right is not on the menu tonight. He nods and leaves me the door he can't open. I don't push on it. I cue a pre-registered note to the list we pretend doesn't exist, candidate non-gravitational acceleration post-conjunction observed by, redacted, request independent verification across bands. No cause language. No propulsion language. I timestamp it, hash the attachments, and clip the hash into the rundown like a cufflink that means I was here. Across the glass, my producer lowers the lights one notch. The camera holds wide for once, giving the room back to itself. On a little sticky in the console corner I write, window, 4:12 to 4:37. If we miss it, we wait a day. I underline wait because sometimes that's the bravest verb in English. The rec light is still on. I haven't given it permission to stop. I rename the file with my initials and the hour. The disclaimers stay, like guardrails on a bridge that has to hold the same river twice. I think of my mother's porch and the way winter light forgives surfaces it should be furious at. I don't say a prayer. I say a schedule. The monitors keep their cold glow. The building is a shell that knows what it is for. The air turns 1 degree colder again, or I learn how to feel it. 10 days is a number, it is also a sentence. Tonight I write the first line without deciding the ending. I set the mic down softly, like a necessary lie on a soft table. I look straight into the lens and don't ask for anything. I let the hum finish the thought. 2:41, the room sounds like it learned to whisper. The hold tag still grips our segment in the CMS, the color of a locked drawer. I don't knock, drawers don't answer. I mirror the night's logs to a fresh drive, compute a hash, and paste the checksum into a plaintext file with the hour and my initials. Align copy hash verify. The verbs steady my hands like rails on a narrow stair. 2 pings go out, one to a southern hemisphere optical station, one to a quiet radio array that hates attention more than I do. No adjectives, I write at the top of the email. UTC only. I attach the plot frames that look like shrugged shoulders learning grammar. The badge reader on the roof door throws me the same red blink, but the telemetry console 2 bays over accepts my credentials and loads a sandbox. I don't cross policies, I work inside them until they say something useful. The sandbox spins up a residual view with bigger fonts and smaller patience. Phone buzz. Unknown number, academic country code. Keep it short, a voice says. She's the one from earlier, the astronomer whose laugh travels badly. We've got partials from an infrared instrument. 2 points post-conjunction. They lean the same way. Magnitude? I ask. Barely above the outgassing ceiling. Wrong direction for dust. Same sign as yours. Thank you, I say, because gratitude keeps doors from remembering their doors. Don't quote me, she adds. And don't save my number. The line dies in a small, ethical click. I add a line to the pre-registered note we queued. Second instrument reports consistent trend, independent confirmation still required, 'cause language prohibited. The sentence looks like it was built by attorneys on a weekend, but it moves the story forward 1 mm per second, which tonight is a sprint. Across the glass, my producer flips a single fader up the width of a fingernail. The room tone deepens by exactly the amount you'd miss if you weren't counting. He mouths, "We're still live." I nod and let the camera have my profile, not my pulse. The rec light doesn't blink. It holds, the way a breath does when it doesn't trust the next one yet. We write the window on a whiteboard that never leaves the room, 4:12 to 4:37 Universal Time Coordinated. A rectangle becomes a promise. Under it, miss it, wait a day. The marker squeaks like a small veto. Solar conjunction was the firewall, reacquisition is the first crack in it. Reacquisition window means a short span when geometry stops being rude and lets you look. If we miss it, the sky rotates its shoulder and we talk about patience in public. We rehearse the cadence, acquire fit push residuals publish delta, quietly, to the professional list. If the list replies with numbers, we tell our audience the sky has started speaking in paragraphs. If the list replies with policies, we tell them we are still listening. Plan B? The producer asks. Same as Plan A, I say, but we call it tomorrow. He barks a soft laugh and scratches Plan C, coffee in the margin. I don't correct the spelling, it's beautiful as is. I pull up the star catalog alignment screen and let the map settle. The bright points click into place like good advice. We load a time server twice, then again because trust is a habit. Window opens in 90, the astronomer says on speaker. My partner just walked in with bad cereal and a better attitude. I'll take either. Copy, I say. We'll run our open as quiet. If you get a clean point, say the word drift and nothing else. We'll carry it. Deal, she answers. Policy email arrives in my inbox as if summoned by optimism. Reminder, no extraordinary language without 3 independent confirmations. Hosts should avoid engineered, propelled, intended, arrival without window. I put the words into the rundown like sandbags. The river rises anyway. I write one line for the prompter: we are not here to shout. We are here to witness. It's not copy, it's posture. It keeps my shoulders where they should be. 308, Independent Channel. Different hemisphere, different culture of silence. A terse message hits the shared mailbox we pretend isn't shared. From S. Martinez. Subject, cadence tonight. Body, no adjectives. Numbers only. We can try a 3-frame sweep at 414, 421, 434. If your UTC is tight, send your residuals in plain text. No attachments. We are not a rumor mill. I love her already. I reply. UTC discipline to plus or minus 1 millisecond, will transmit residuals minus commentary. We'll owe you coffee for a year. Another line appears before I can hit send. We prefer tea. No milk. I send the residuals in a single line of numbers that look like rain. My cursor hovers over the emoji drawer, then flees. Numbers don't need applause. Radio array replies, different voice. We are blind if you ask for poetry, we are useful if you ask for patience. We'll sweep the sky for coherent reflections post 04:20. No promises. Copy that, I write. Patience requested. The producer watches the exchanges with the face of a doctor who has stopped promising and started counting. We can't name them on air, he says. But if they confirm, we can say, independent group. 2 groups would be better, I say. 3 would make legal purr. Cats don't purr for the right reasons, I answer. He shrugs and points to the whiteboard where 412 to 437 glows like a lighthouse's schedule. 03:59. We kill the theme music and let the hum work. The shot widens, hands, displays, the whiteboard window, the little square of rec that looks like a red star you can keep. 412 arrives as if numbers had a personality. The first post-conjunction point drops onto the plot like a footstep you don't want to be alone for. 1 is nothing, I whisper, repeating the ritual. 2 is temptation, the astronomer says, 30 seconds later. The second point leans the same way. Not by much. Just enough to make quiet feel intentional. The third makes a line, she adds at 4:18, voice flat and brave. The line is shy, but it's there, 3 dots that stopped being friends and became a plan. Drift, she says. And that is all. I lift my eyes to the camera, then lower them to the keyboard. We're seeing a trend, I tell the audience, who are awake because the world taught them how. Numbers that don't love our gravity-only model. The word for that tonight is drift. We are not naming any reason for it. On a second screen, the independent team pings, 421, confirming lean, small but consistent with your sign. They attach nothing. Just the sentence, blunt, decent. In my ear, a whisper from legal, repeat, candidate, when you say, non-gravitational. I obey, because the only thing worse than policy is improvisation when policy is watching. Non-gravitational candidate acceleration, I say into the mic, like a man swearing to tell the truth in a language that has no swear words. A 4th dot lands. There is a temptation to stand. I don't. I stay inside the frame we picked, because contained bodies deliver contained meanings. My hand finds the sticky that says window. I underline wait without looking. The room answers by getting colder, or the cold finally gets a name. 04:25. The policy bot, which is not a bot, but a night lawyer who likes cheap humor, posts a line into the editorial channel. Policy: no extraordinary language without 3 independent confirmations. Do not imply intent, control, or agency. Do not use arrival alone. I type, we are not extraordinary language. We are ordinary facts. No one reacts with a thumbs up. Good. CMS now shows double hold, the kind that requires a human call to release. The night editor appears with a face that says the call will not be made before a sunrise that isn't ours yet. We'll run your quiet open and kill the rest, he says. We'll keep the window on the board but off the air. Copy, I answer, because copy is a way to stay employed. The radio array writes back at 4:28, weak coherence at expected angles, not definitive, not consistent with dust chatter. I read it twice. Every word sits in its own small chair. Direction? I ask the astronomer. Not sunward, she says. Not cometary. A pause sinks through the ductwork and into the carpet. Dust would push sunward. This doesn't. Magnitude? I ask. Above outgassing by a hair, below anything you can use for television, she says. Then, softer, I wish we were off the record. We always are until the record speaks for itself, I say. It sounds like a line I stole from a professor I liked. Maybe I did. I forgive myself for the theft. I update the pre-registered note and send it, second instrument, consistent trend. Radio, weak coherence, not dust-like. Direction, non-sunward. Magnitude, small, sustained. Request, independent confirmation across bands, no cause language. I sign with time, coordinates, and the hash. The hash isn't trust, but it's an introduction. The producer taps the glass once with a knuckle. He mouths, your call. It means, decide if we burn through the hold with journalism or let the morning own this. I look at the whiteboard. 4:37 is coming like a polite train that may not stop again until noon tomorrow. We stay, I say. He nods and writes stay with the same marker I used. The word looks like a candle. 04:33. The room stops fidgeting. Even the HVAC listens. A 5th point appears, then a 6th, and the residuals stop pretending to drunk walk and start marching like someone taught them left right left and they liked it. Direction still off solar line, the astronomer reports. Sustained. Phase angle says this isn't dust theater. Numbers? I ask. 0.9 to 1.1 millimeters per second equivalent across the slice. It's not big. It's stubborn. The independent optical team writes, 4:34, trend persists. Sending plain text. No adjectives. 2 seconds later, they send a single line of numbers that looks like a street you could count houses on. Radio? I ping. Quiet, they reply. Which, given the geometry, is also a sentence. The second anomaly isn't fireworks, it's a metronome. Wrong direction, wrong persistence for dust, right in the teeth of perihelion's energy bargain, where a small push buys more than it should. I think Oberth effect and force myself not to say it. If I name it, I owe it a reason. I don't have one yet. Legal whispers, no propulsion words. I nod at the air. The air nods back with a colder face. File the 2, I tell the producer. He blinks. Target of opportunity? We're not a telescope, he says, we're a newsroom. Tonight we are both, I answer. We file a request for a major instrument to observe a candidate non-gravitational acceleration during the window. No claims. Just the ask. He looks at the hold tag, then at me, then at the red square of rec. Do it clean, he says. I type the request like a confession. Subject, to request, 3I/Atlas post-conjunction candidate non-gravitational acceleration. Body, we request a short notice observation slot within 4:12 to 4:37 Universal Time Coordinated for crossband confirmation of a small, sustained residual trend inconsistent with gravity-only models and expected outgassing. No cause language. We will not attribute intent. We will share plaintext residuals and hashes. Independent groups alerted. I sign with time, coordinates, and the checksum. I hit send. Transparency isn't safe. It's correct. The astronomer's voice is nearly a whisper now. You just made it real. No, I say. The sky did. We're just writing down what it said. A seventh point lands. The line looks like a decision a planet made, and then reconsidered, and then made again. 04:36. The window is a minute from closing and the room has decided to keep its promises. My segment is still hold, but the stream is live. We are carrying silence like it's a guest. The night editor returns, jaw angled like a hinge. We can't release the block before the top of the hour, he says. But I'll give you a live reader to camera too. One sentence. Then we go to the explainer. One sentence, I repeat. No adjectives. He nods. I look at the lens that has been polite all night. Independent groups report a small, sustained non-gravitational candidate acceleration in 3I/Atlas post-conjunction, with direction inconsistent with dust. I let the period hold the rest. We requested independent confirmation. The producer cuts to the whiteboard where 4:12 to 4:37 is underlined twice. He holds the shot 2 beats longer than comfort. Then back to me. The editor reaches for the switch to move us to the explainer. I raise a hand the width of a comma. One more sentence, I say, already speaking. If these numbers hold through the next window, our language stays cautious and our attention does not. He doesn't cut me. That was the deal. The window ticks to 4:37. The astronomer says, we're out. The independent team echoes, window closed. The radio array adds, silence confirmed. I smile, because silence is evidence in the right light. I open the 2 confirmation email. Received. Pending review. No fireworks. A door you can't see opening half an inch. I close my eyes for one count of 3, not because I am tired, but because I am not allowed to cry on a night when no one is in danger yet. We keep the log, I say out loud, for the record and the room. We keep the log, the producer repeats. The rec light stays red. I don't tell it to stop. 05:02. The building has more oxygen than it did an hour ago. The legal line hasn't moved. The policy hasn't loosened. The numbers have grown a spine. We cue the next 24 hours in pencil. 2:10 radio repeat, different frequency sweep. 3:05 infrared follow-up if a slot survives the day. Next window, tomorrow's reacquisition, same rectangle, slightly tilted by the world turning. 5 days, Venus geometry that might reveal a separation if anything ever separated at all. I export a copy of the log with my initials in the file name and send it to a dead drop address I only use for work that can't survive being misunderstood. The hash matches like a handshake. On the whiteboard, I add 3 small phrases in the corner. Hold isn't a word, it's a wall. Silence can be evidence. Return to the first cold breath. The last one is mine. I want to meet the part 1 image where it lives and ask it what it learned. The producer dims the lights 1 step. The monitors continue their cold glow. The room doesn't forgive or accuse. It records. I take the marker and draw a tiny red square next to the window times, the size of the rec light. It looks like a heartbeat someone forgot to erase. We don't celebrate. We behave. I set the mic down gently. The room hears it and doesn't flinch. See you tonight, I tell the whiteboard. See you, it doesn't say. The monitors don't blink. We do. The night doesn't end, it just folds itself thinner. By 6 o'clock, inbox, 0 replies. The 2 request sits, pending review. The network hums at half volume. Silence is a form of review. The screens still glow but the air is different, as if the room finally realized it was being watched by its own light. No calls from legal. No retractions. Just nothing, a nothing that feels engineered. I scroll the log. Each entry wears the same signature, my initials, my time code, my temperature. Transparency was supposed to make the truth louder. Instead, it made the building whisper. I pour coffee that forgot what warmth is. The first sip tastes like an alibi. Everyone has a version now. None of them match. Trend confirmed. Trend disputed. Anomaly within margin. Margin within anomaly. Headlines bloom like fungi, quiet, everywhere. On social feeds, animation loops of a speck crossing a circle, tagged #ATLAce window. On forums, new theories born hungry, dying satisfied. The plots, stripped from context, travel faster than the object itself. Pixels rearrange into faith. I scroll through them without anger. Just a note to self, truth travels slower than its echo. The monitor light breathes across my knuckles. Outside the glass, the city remembers it has mornings. 7:10. Everyone's gone. The building hums in mono. The air tastes of ozone and paper cups. I play an old voice memo, a fragment from my mother. When you watch the sky, don't wait for it to answer. Just listen long enough to remember you're part of it. I let the recording loop once. Twice. Then I breathe slower. 4 beats in. Hold 2. Exhale on facts. The numbers on the screen don't move. But something in me does, an alignment without math. By mid-morning, the feeds fill with quiet headlines. Independent teams revisit 3i/Atlas data. No evidence of threat. Questions persist. Network host files early transparency request. They don't say my name. They don't need to. Comment threads argue in circles too perfect to be organic. Maybe bots, maybe people practicing being bots. The story has escaped gravity. I let it drift. A producer texts, "You're off air till further notice. Get some sleep." I type, "Already did," and never send it. 13:42 Universal Time Coordinated. Notification, data packet, Venus relay window. I open it like a letter I don't deserve. 3 lines of numbers. Intervals too regular for noise. A slope too clean for coincidence. New entry at 5:12 Universal Time Coordinated, the astronomer writes. A pattern too straight for dust. No interpretation attached. I zoom in until pixels forget their pixels. It's the same geometry, only calmer, as if the object was tired of pretending to be random. For a moment, I forget to breathe. Then I do. The air re-enters politely. No press. No memo. Just the log. I add a line, "Trend persists across Venus relay." No cause language. Truth has its own orbit. Our job is not to control it, only to keep tracking until it disappears honestly. The phone rings once, the astronomer again. "We're seeing stability," she says. "It's beautiful." And wrong. Most beautiful things start that way, I say. Neither of us laughs. She whispers, "Maybe it's just physics we don't remember yet." "Maybe," I answer. Silence calculates between us. Night returns like a gentle authority. The building sleeps. The monitors keep their pulse. I stay not for proof, but for company. Somewhere out there, a signal drifts, patient, exact, unhurried. It doesn't care if we believe it. It just is. I let the room breathe around me. The numbers fade to gray. The hum becomes weather. And when the building finally goes dark, the only light left is the one I brought with me. It begins without warning. A soundless notification. A file that shouldn't exist. 2:11, Venus relay, signal restored. No chime, no fanfare. Just the small pulse of text against black. I blink twice before trusting it. The console, usually hesitant, responds instantly. Data loads in smooth, clean lines, no buffering, no flicker. Outside the window, the night looks washed, that in-between color before dawn when the sky forgets what side it's on. I expand the feed. Dots appear, measured, precise. Not random, not chaotic. Each one lands exactly where probability says it shouldn't, perfectly, defiantly wrong. The old residuals used to stagger like drunk dancers, these march like soldiers under an unseen rhythm. I whisper, mostly to myself. The same pattern repeats, only cleaner. Like it wanted to be seen this time. The sound of my own voice startles me. I almost laugh, but the air doesn't allow it. The hum of the racks feels heavier, as if listening. I zoom in until the pixels lose their edges, until the curve becomes a smooth, breath-like arc. For the first time in weeks, the data feel alive. Not metaphorically. Just, present. Moving with a patience that refuses spectacle. I take a screenshot, save it to a new folder, truth_temp/, a ritual that feels both scientific and sacred. It's not proof. It's presence. The cursor blinks. The hum breathes. And I realize, the room isn't reacting to me anymore. It's participating. 3:02. The math lines up perfectly, too perfectly. Every variable resolves. Every equation obeys. Every formula smiles, but the meaning vanishes. I rerun the model 3 times, switch algorithms, trade gravitational constants like spare batteries. Same result, the system behaves beautifully, and tells me nothing. It's like arguing with a saint. The laws of motion perform on cue, yet the why behind them evaporates. A universe fluent in grammar, suddenly mute in meaning. I type a note to myself. If all models fit, maybe we're modeling the wrong silence. The fluorescent lights above buzz in steady 60 Hz confession. I take off my glasses and rub my eyes until colors pulse behind them, tiny constellations made of fatigue. Every number holds. Every assumption collapses. It's symmetrical, precise, and profoundly unhelpful. I remember my professor once saying, "When your data are too clean, you're looking at God's handwriting, and you can't read cursive." I smile. He's been dead 10 years. But tonight, the joke lands differently. I stare at the monitor and whisper. Every variable resolves. Every model fails. The math agrees with nothing. The hum deepens. The air learns reverence. I stop typing. I just sit, still, small, and absolutely awake. By 3:40, the city below the window is a gray grid, half asleep, half praying for morning. I rest my chin on my hand and watch the faint shimmer of humidity over the rooftops. Everything looks close and unreachable. My phone buzzes once. A message from my sister. Mom says stop living at work. There's food here. The sky's not going anywhere. I type, it came closer than you think. Delete it. Type, I will. Don't send that either. Instead, I put the phone face down and trace the condensation ring left by my mug on the desk, a perfect circle, slowly drying. I wonder how many invisible things leave marks we never notice until the surface cools. The newsroom channel pings. Someone posted a meme, Atlas equals actually the Lord arrives soon. I exhale through my nose. Half laugh, half prayer. We've turned the unknown into punchlines again. That's how humans survive our own curiosity. In the corner, the second monitor idles on an image from the Venus relay, faint thermal gradients, elegant and slow, a whisper of persistence. Not proof. But something like presence. For the first time, I lean back, not forward. The chair creaks like a confession booth. I realize I've been chasing certainty so hard I forgot what wonder feels like. And now that it's here, quiet, honest, undeserved, I almost don't recognize it. 4:07. It happens the way all miracles do, without music. The signal ends. No crash, no error, no fade out. Just a clean stop. Every instrument reports nominal. Every channel blinks green. Every heartbeat of the system says, nothing's wrong. Except for the absence that fills the room like weather. The data log finalizes automatically, stamping its time, 4:07 and 12 seconds Universal Time Coordinated, transmission complete. I scroll back, expecting a glitch, a dropout, a missing line. No. The stream closes like a sentence with perfect grammar. The radio array sends one last message. All systems normal. Signal ended precisely on model boundary. No residual. No echo. Everything's quiet. Everything's correct. Nothing's normal. I copy the line into my notes. Then stare at it until it becomes prayer. There's a kind of silence that screams. And there's a kind that confirms. This is the second kind. I type a single line under it. No signal equals symmetry. The cursor blinks after the period like it's waiting for a thank you. I whisper it anyway. I go to the roof. The badge reader hesitates, then turns green for the first time in days. The door opens with a small sigh. Outside, the night is enormous. The air smells of rain and old metal. Wind combs the cables along the ledge, soft, like fingers over strings. The city below hums in its sleep, traffic lights performing to no one, billboards selling comfort to the dark. I look up. The stars are blurred by haze, but one slice of sky glows faintly, the direction where 3I/Atlas should be. Nothing visible, just that strange quiet brightness, a light without a source. I exhale. If you're still out there, I whisper, you've already changed the script. My breath fogs, dissolves, joins the story. Space looks tired. Like it's been waiting for someone to notice. For a moment, I imagine the object not as a thing, but as an act. A movement written into the void, teaching us to look differently. No message, no arrival, no invasion, just a question shaped like motion. Down in the control room, the monitors still record empty air. Up here, the emptiness feels occupied. And for the first time in my life, I don't need to name what's looking back. Back downstairs, the building feels smaller. Not like confinement, but like shelter. I sit. Hands on the keyboard. The cursor waits. I open the file, atlas_final_residual_series.txt. The numbers blink, silent, still, complete. For a long minute, I just watch them. They look like coordinates to something too honest for belief. I type slowly. Archived for memory, not proof. No claim. No cause. No correction. We observed. We did not conclude. Then I add a final line. Truth, observed behavior exceeding expected grace. It's not science. It's not poetry. It's both. I export the file, encrypt it, hash it twice, save it 3 times. The fan spins like a prayer wheel. My reflection in the screen looks older than I feel. Maybe I left a version of myself in that first cold breath. The night I pressed rec and thought evidence could save us from mystery. Now I know better. Mystery isn't what hides the truth. It is the truth, stretched across a longer timeline than we can stand. I close the log. The screen darkens. In its black glass, I see the faint outline of the rec light still burning on the backup camera. It's the smallest sun in the world, and it refuses to set. The world turns lighter by degrees, like its unlearning night. Through the slats of the blinds, daylight leaks in soft and gray. Every object has a shadow again. Even silence has weight. I open the window an inch. The smell of wet asphalt enters, city rain, gentle, forgiving. Somewhere, a bird decides to practice optimism. I rest my head against the cool glass. The servers behind me hum in even rhythm. The same lullaby the universe has been singing since hydrogen learned harmony. I think of the policy memos, the embargoed language, the way every word was wrapped in caution. Now, none of it matters. We never needed better words, we needed quieter ones. I reach for my notebook and write, almost without thought. The world has turned transparent. I can finally see through it. The pen ink feathers slightly on the page. I close the cover. Downstairs, the morning crew will arrive soon. They'll talk about reruns, ad slots, maybe coffee. Someone will ask if we're still tracking the object. Someone else will say, it's gone. And both will be right. I stay seated until the sun hits the edge of the monitor, turning the dust motes into galaxies. Then I stand, stretch, and say to the room, thank you for staying up with me. The hum answers, low, constant, infinite. I wake to light, not sound. It floats through the blinds in patient bands, pale gold and undecided, as if the morning is thinking before it speaks. For a few breaths I don't move. The body remembers the night as weight in the shoulders, the wrists, behind the eyes, the mind remembers it as temperature. I test the air, cool, exact, like water from a deep tap. The servers hum under the floor with the gentleness of someone leaving a room without closing the door. On the main screen the last line still loops. Last contact, 4:07 Universal Time Coordinated, transmission complete. It has scrolled there all night, a pulse without a heart to feed. I let it stay. Not as news, not as proof, just as a kept promise. The coffee on the console is cold in the way that tastes clean, not bitter. I drink it anyway. It is the opposite of celebration, simple, necessary, awake. Across the glass, the whiteboard keeps 3 ghosted phrases the eraser couldn't take. Hold isn't a word, it's a wall. Silence can be evidence. Return to the first cold breath. I stand in front of those faint lines and breathe in until the chest feels present, not brave. The felt tips squeak when I erase the rest of the board is small, private, final. I leave the 3 ghosts alone. They look like instructions written by a kinder future. Phones slept through the night. My watch didn't. It vibrates once for a headline that already feels antique, no hazard, object outbound, model stable. Good words. Right words. They sound like a polite handover from the sky to those of us who live under it. I open the window a few inches. The smell of wet asphalt enters the room like a careful friend. Somewhere down the block a truck coughs to life. A pigeon tries a first syllable and gives up. So much of the world is rehearsal. The studio chat pings. The producer writes, panel tonight instead of your monologue. 3 scientists, 1 ethicist, 1 comedian. You off? I type, yes. I'm off. I don't add, we're all off, for once. The story is ahead of us and behind us at the same time. I pack slowly. The mic goes into its case like an apology. The spare batteries look embarrassed to still be full. The small red rec tally on camera 2 is the last thing glowing when I flick the power strip. One tiny planet setting at last. Before I leave, I put my palm flat on the console. The plastic is cool from hours of not being touched. It feels like gratitude from a machine. Or maybe I'm learning to hear gratitude where it never meant to be. I close the door softly, the way you do for a room that has earned its rest. By noon the world has translated the night into human. None of the translations match, all of them rhyme. A bakery on the corner writes we listened in sugar on a sheet cake in the window. A jogger pauses mid-stride on the river path, hands on hips, not to catch her breath but to look at a bright nothing in the sky as if posture itself could keep a secret. On the bus, a kid with headphones taps the window with one finger in a beat I recognize, a metronome of wakefulness. The studio runs the panel without me. I watch from my phone by the cafe's window, sound low. The physicist who doesn't smile speaks in tight nouns: trajectory, outgassing limits, non-gravitational candidate. The ethicist speaks like rain on leaves: humility, stewardship, public language that doesn't colonize the unknown. The comedian says almost nothing and gets the loudest applause. In between, the anchor leans into the camera and says, very quietly, "No danger detected." The words are the right size. For once we do not sell fear as attention. My inbox is 2 planets. One full of awe, photos of dawns from different cities, captions that are more breath than sentence. The other full of suspicion, hoax, psyop, marketing for a movie I'd never watch. I do not delete either planet. My job is to see both and choose the one that keeps the most people human. In a private channel the astronomer leaves a line, working on a careful preprint. No adjectives. Thank you for last night. I reply with our final checksum, the digital equivalent of a handshake you don't let go too fast. A post from a stranger floats across my screen at the exact speed I'm ready to read it. I don't understand anything. I listened anyway. It helped. I pin it. We have different sciences for what helps. I leave the building with my hands empty on purpose. The street is washed in that post-rain clarity where every color is a little overconfident. Asphalt shines as if the city polished it while we slept. I take the long route to the water because corners feel like decisions and I'm trying not to make any. At a crosswalk a woman in a nurse's badge smiles at me like we are old colleagues. "Did you see it?" she asks, though there is no it to see. Her voice has the calm of people who do emergencies as a profession. "We heard it," I say. She nods. Sometimes that's all God gives you. The light turns. She goes. I keep the sentence and put no name on who it belongs to. On a storefront TV, muted captions crawl under a loop of the same orbital diagram. My reflection passes through the animation and I look, for half a second, like someone who knows what any of it means. I don't. I know how to sit longer than my impatience, that's all. Near the pier, gulls argue in their ancient Union language. A tourist couple takes a selfie with a slice of sky behind them and then look at each other longer than the phone asks them to. That is new. Or maybe I've been missing it. The river is gray and mannered. I lean on the railing and press my phone screen dark so it will show me my face. There is a fine grit of salt at the corner of my eye. Sleep or weather. I blink it into a memory I will tell no one. A bus sighs. A bicycle ticks. The city recalibrates. The world remembers that it is not a studio audience. Outbound, the announcer had said. The best word we have for leaving without slamming a door. Afternoon finds me at a cafe with windows big enough to be mistaken for hope. The line moves like a polite organism. The grinder drones its warm industrial lullaby. A barista with a comet tattoo on her wrist writes Michael on a paper cup without asking. I decide that fate sometimes is just a good memory at the register. At the table beside me a child presses her forehead to the glass and fogs a circle on the pane. That's where the visitor was, she says solemnly, pointing at the blankiest part of the sky. Her mother smiles without condescension. Maybe it visited the way a song does, she says. You can't point to it, but it still changes the room. The girl thinks. Then why did it leave? Songs end, the mother says. So you can hear the next one. I sip my coffee and feel the temperature of that line cool all the way into my ribs. So many adults answer with diagrams, the best answers are habits. My phone buzzes, the astronomer again. Reflection, she says without hello. Her voice is daylight now, not neon. We think we saw a faint bounce off the thermosphere just past the window. Delayed, tiny. Beautiful. From us? From us, she says, and we let the implication sit between us like a candle that doesn't need oxygen. The signal went on, met our air, and told us what we are made of, not to belittle us, not to frighten us, just to include us in the geometry. After the call, I open my notebook, the paper one, the unreliable one, and write, we were part of the sentence. Maybe we always are, and nights like this only adjust the font size. A man in a suit asks if he can borrow my pen for his crossword. He returns it with a nod that feels ceremonial. In the clue boxes he has penciled and listen where no one asked him to. Somewhere a preprint will soon be published, and cautious language will build a small, sturdy boat around the numbers. It will be good work. It will be honest. It will be necessary for people who only travel by bridge. But most people will remember the morning, not the model. The way the air felt like it had learned a new letter. The way jokes got kinder for a day. The way a city said good morning to itself without any footnotes. Evening tilts toward night and I climb the stairs to the roof out of habit more than need. The badge reader clicks green like a quiet welcome. The door opens on air that tastes like steel and low tide, and I step into a sky that has switched from pale to deep without asking anyone's permission. Clouds are absent, maybe offended at how much attention numbers got in taking a night off. Stars are present, stubborn, old, showing up whether we look at them or not. I sit on the concrete with my back to the parapet and let the city be a lower layer of the shot. In the shot above, the place where 3i/Atlas used to be is now not empty, exactly, but resolved. Like a thought that finished and left room for the next one. Some people will say it was natural. Some will say it was designed. I put both ideas down on the roof beside me and see which one attracts the wind. Neither does. The wind prefers the company of unasked questions. I think of my mother, her voice memo I keep replaying on quieter days, don't wait for the sky to answer. Listen long enough to remember you're part of it. For months I mistook patience for a strategy. Tonight it feels like a citizenship. In my pocket the phone buzzes once, an automated alert from the newsroom reminding me to approve a timesheet, then a second buzz from the producer sending a photo, the studio empty, lights cold, chairs in a semicircle facing a place where a guest would be. Looks like a ritual without the god, he captions. Maybe the ritual was the god, I type back, and don't send it because sometimes the truest words need the privacy of not having to be true for anyone else. Far away a plane scribbles a thin contrail into the dark, and I think of lines we draw to pretend we own the page. The contrail bends and thins and becomes cloud-colored and then history. The pilot will log a routine flight. Someone in 22A will write a text to a person who will never read it. The landing will be announced. The plane will taxi. Life will not make a headline out of these facts. Neither will I. I close my eyes and let the rooftop record me, one more small, consenting witness to a night that learned how to carry itself. Back at my desk, the console glows the color of cooled metal. The last file waits where I left it. Title in plain text like an apology for ever trying to be fancy, atlas_final.txt. I open it. The last lines stare back. Archived for memory, not proof. When we listened, the universe listened back. End of observation cycle. I put my fingers on the keys and don't press anything. The room holds its breath with me. It's not a dramatic pause, it's an accurate one. The difference matters. The cursor blinks, patient, like a nurse waiting for you to say where it hurts. It doesn't hurt. It weighs. That's different. I type one more sentence, not because the file needs it but because I do. We will not be believed by everyone. That is not the sky's fault. I save. The sound is a soft mechanical click, like a record player's arm finding its rest. I shut down each monitor by hand, one at a time, giving each screen its own goodbye. The fans lower their key. Somewhere inside the rack a diode blinks a last slow red and then goes to whatever machines call sleep. The room grows a size larger, as if the absence of noise lets the walls move their elbows. I lay the mic gently in its case. The cable coils itself obediently, relieved to be unimportant. I tape the hatch shut and write the date on the tape in a block hand. Not a ritual. A courtesy. Before I leave, I write 3 sentences on a sticky and press it above the light switch. Don't narrate if silence can hold it. Don't sell what you can keep as trust. Start with the breath. The square of paper looks like an exit sign for people who work with sentences. The lights go out. The room is true in the dark. The city at dawn is less of a city and more of a rehearsal space for one. Trucks murmur in alleys like animals not ready to be named. Streetlights give up control to skylight without a fight. A cyclist glides past and lifts 2 fingers in a salute that says we survived another night of being complicated. I walk toward the river with nothing in my hands and everything in my pocket. The mist sits low, warm against the skin, as if the water is exhaling on purpose. Every boat looks parked where it meant to be forever. On a billboard that last week sold me shoes I will never wear, there is now a white field with 3 words, "We are listening." No logo. No brand. Maybe it's an ad for kindness. Maybe it's a dare. On a bench, a man in a maintenance uniform stares at his thermos like it contains a map. "You hear it," he says when our eyes meet, though there is no sound. "The quiet?" "I do," I say. "It's big," he says. "Bigger than football." We both laugh too loudly at that and the quiet forgives us. He tips his thermos in my direction and we become, briefly, a 2-person congregation that doesn't need a building. I stand at the water's edge and lay my palm on the cold rail. The skin learns the metal, then stops reporting about it. "Outbound," the announcer said. I imagine the object somewhere past the moon's polite jurisdiction, moving in the kind of straight line that looks curved to anyone who doesn't have enough time. A wind picks up from the east and makes little signatures on the river's surface. No two the same. All of them legible if you stand far enough away. My phone buzzes once more with the only alert I have not muted, "Mom, breakfast?" I type, "Yes. I'll bring the quiet." She sends back a heart she pretends is accidental. The horizon blushes. People appear with dogs who don't understand history but understand mourning. Someone down the path starts to clap for no reason and then stops, embarrassed at the accuracy of that reason. I inhale. The air goes all the way in. I exhale and don't chase it as it leaves. No answers come. None are required. The universe kept it secret, I say, not a performance, not a line, just a sentence that fits the size of my mouth. And I finally stopped asking. The words go nowhere, into air, into mist, into the same wide room where night keeps its coat, and the going nowhere is the point. A train crosses the bridge upstream, its sound long and warm, the human version of a constellation. It fades. The water continues. The light levels up 1 notch. A dog laughs the way only a dog can. I close my eyes and let the world remove itself in layers. Servers. Protocols. Policies. Names. Numbers. All still true. None needed for this next part. I keep listening, not for proof, not for message, but for company. Something answers, not a voice, not a tone, just the fact of a planet breathing under my shoes at the same rate my chest chooses on its own. I open my eyes, and the day is ordinary enough to be believed.